Football recruiting is a lot like flipping on a red light. Once you turn it on, you want to keep it on.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it's a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on the classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go today, now free on the App Store or on Google Play. Happy Monday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, over the weekend, NC State football picked up another commit to their 2025 class. It is the fourth of this class and the second defensive commit. It is 6'1" safety Tristan Teasdell out of Leesburg, Virginia. Now, this is a big pickup, and I think it flies under the radar considering this guy has no stars. But listen to his offer list. ECU, Oklahoma State, Pitt, Tulane, Duke, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Miami, Notre Dame, Washington, who just played the national championship, and Southern Cal. How does a kid with this offer list have no stars?
But certain sites don't give guys a lot of stars until they come into their senior year and all that. But I do agree that we are getting to about that time where it's like, it's getting near dawn. Let's go ahead and do something here because, that is quite an impressive offer list. Especially the most important part of that offer list that you hear, offers happen normally regionally because it's easiest to recruit within your region, right? Washington and USC are nowhere near Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on here? What do they know about this young man that most other schools don't? But very seriously, picking up a young man with that offer list is impressive. I'm not going to lie and say that I've watched the game film on him. However, it is always good to get more good players. That's never something I'm going to knock. And, we'll do our due diligence and come back to you with the report in terms of, like, how exciting is he? What do you think you're getting out of this guy? A lot like we have in the past with other players. But I can tell you, again, you're never looking at a bad thing when you're looking at a young man from the East Coast with an offer from USC and Washington.
Now, I have seen a little bit of tape. I'll have to get Kenton to get in on it as well. But from the tape that I've seen, he looks like a slightly taller Tanner Ingle. He puts his nose in the mix, and he will let you know where he's at all times. He does not shy away from knocking somebody's stuff loose if they happen to have the rock with him. So super aggressive, super physical, a guy that just flies to the ball. Every description I just listed screams what? Tony Gibson defense. It feels like a great fit to get Tristan committed to NC State. Again, touching back on this offer list, to be receiving offers from a lot of schools that prioritize defense. You look at Iowa, you look at Miami, you look at Notre Dame. Those are tough, hard-nosed defenses. And for Tristan to be on their radar, but then to commit to NC State, you really feel like you're getting a little bit of a steal here. And depending on where they are in this cycle, perhaps you will see some stars be added to his name. And again, that's not the end-all, be-all, but it really feels like NC State is plucking one from the patch before a lot of people have noticed.
Oh, for sure. I don't think that there's a world where you can make a serious argument against, hey, you're missing on a young man with, again, that impressive of an offer list. And I'll tell you what, a 6'1" frame with that type of aggression who seeks out contact, hold on now. I'm not ready to call it yet because, like I said, Grayson has seen the tape. I have not. But again, that seems like the type of young man that you want on your team. And like you said, it fits in with Tony Gibson's philosophy because how many times have we seen safety blitzes get home? When NC State gets you in third and long, that's not where you want to be. That's not, it's a very, very scary place to be in that situation against NC State. So, it's if he is better coming downhill than he is backpedaling at the moment, that's fine. He's a high schooler. We will, work on those things with him. Hey, who knows? He may be just as good going in the other direction. It just happened to not make the highlight tape. I'm excited to see what this young man has to offer. And again, Grayson and I tell you, when we see recruits, we're like, oh, this is a hit. This is instantly one of those ones. We'll tell you, and we'll definitely get back to you as we talk more, as we get deeper into the 2025 class, and as we talk more about them, because like Grayson talked about in the intro, when you start recruiting with good momentum, it puts you on the right foot. You're getting off on your good foot to where you're headed in the right direction. So this seems to be a great right direction for the 2025 class.
Yeah, the 2025 class is already off to a really hot start. And a little bit later, we're going to talk more about a wish list type of deal for what they really need to be prioritizing in this upcoming cycle. But with the 4 commits you already have, which is a quarterback, a tight end, a defensive lineman, and now a safety, all 4 of which have very impressive tape. And I'm super excited about Will Wilson. Again, we'll talk about more in just a bit. You look at the momentum coming off of last season, that rolled into the transfer portal over the winter. You saw how that panned out for us. Another successful year this coming year will probably prove fruitful again. And so this is a super big summer coming up for this program and this staff. There's already like 1 billion official visits, it sounds like, that are lined up to come to NC State. So we talked about it a lot coming off of the end of last year. People are really starting to take notice of NC State football now. It's taken a long time to get here, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears were involved. We're starting to pick up some eyeballs from around the country now, and Tristan Teasdell from Leesburg, Virginia, is just the latest to join the pack. Feels like a very underrated addition at this point in the cycle. Can't wait to see what he can do after he gets to campus. Coming up next, we're talking about a very fishy situation down in Tallahassee, Florida over the weekend involving the Pac-9, potential RPI scheduling shenanigans, after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first sponsor of the day is LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are just right for that role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. They help you hire professionals that you simply cannot find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but they still might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So quite frankly, if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within just 24 hours. So you can hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats, they simply might not have the time or resources to hire effectively. That's why LinkedIn is constantly finding new ways to make these processes easier. They've even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, streamlining this process. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Middle portion of our Monday show, now getting into the Pac-9's ordeal from this past weekend down in Tallahassee, Florida. So NC State had a ranked matchup with number 7 Florida State over the weekend. Another big-time series to try and build momentum toward building a schedule that's good enough to be a host seed. NC State has already put together a rather impressive resume with ranked wins over Clemson, UNC, and Duke. Florida State was just the latest team to be in the crosshairs. Now, Friday night, the Pac-9 got the job done. They picked up an 8-7 nail-biting win. Late inning heroics out of the bullpen really proved to be the difference. Cooper Consiglio and Derek Smith were electric off of the mound. They really preserved the late lead for NC State, and then Derek Smith hammered it home there in the 9th. And then cue the shenanigans. So coming into Saturday, I guess there was projected weather to be coming into the area, and yet the field was not tarped. And so the teams show up to the ballpark on Saturday, and they don't postpone the game. They don't move up the game. They cancel Saturday's game and just decide that they will only play one on Sunday. So now the 3-game series is now knocked back down to just 2 games in Tallahassee, and you lose the chance to win or sweep the series down on the road. Now, NC State ends up losing the game on Sunday by a score of 8-1. But Wolfpack fans were none too pleased. about Game 2 being canceled.
So wait, I'm confused. Why didn't they just do a doubleheader? Don't teams normally do doubleheaders if you got to cancel the game in the middle or one of the games at the beginning? Like, why didn't they do that?
Now, you would think that would also be an option. So because NC State flew charter, that there was a curfew on Sunday. I believe it was 4:30 p.m. So that creates a very tight window. But I agree with you. If the urge to get these games in was there, then this could have been resolved. However, this is where the shady material gets thrown into the mix. Now, Link Jarrett, who happens to be the father of previous NC State baseball player JT Jarrett, is the head coach of Florida State. And he's sort of curated a reputation of questionable cancellations, we'll say, over the course of his coaching career. He had some back at Notre Dame during his tenure with the Irish, and now he has yet another one, this time with the Seminoles. Now, basically, it boils down to this. RPI is circled on everyone's notepad around this time of year because teams are trying to build a resume that's good enough to host a regional. Now, Florida State is more than likely set in stone for hosting. They're 7th in the country. I think they're around the same spot in the RPI, so they should be okay. There's still a lot at risk. For example, if NC State were to come into town and win the series or sweep the State, on the other hand, they're slowly climbing their way up the RPI ladder. And even though they only split the series, they did themselves a solid. I think they're up to 19 now, if I'm not mistaken. The opportunity that was removed from NC State to potentially, like I said, win the series or sweep, it hurts their RPI. Not trying to draw the direct conclusion that they would have swept them, because you can't assume anything like that, but the opportunity was taken away.
So the NCAA hasn't done anything about his previous shady cancellations? Like, how do you, as a governing body, don't you look at that and say, whoa, hold on now, brother, hold on. You can't just be canceling games all willy-nilly based on what you want for your RPI here.
Well, okay, so despite him having a reputation like that, it's not exactly something that you can nail him down on. You can't say, we know you tried to do this because of XYZ. However, the NCAA had recently put out, I think it was a week or so ago, a press release basically stating, we're watching you. And if you are trying to cancel games for your own gamesmanship behind the scenes, we're going to have an eyeball out to that. Because Link Jarrett's not the only coach that has been sort of known for doing that type of thing. It honestly got kind of widespread in college baseball these last couple of years. And a lot of the midweek games for Power 5 teams were getting canceled because of this reason. They could salvage little pieces of their RPI by not playing a team like Alcorn State, just throwing out a random name here. For example, NC State plays Norfolk State on Tuesday. Based on the RPI, it measures the wins and losses and strength of schedule. Playing against Norfolk State will ultimately hurt NC State's resume, whether they win or lose. Well, obviously if they lose, but even if they win, it will affect their strength of schedule in this metric. So using that knowledge, it would benefit NC State to cancel this game on Tuesday. Now, they're not going to do that unless there is rain in the area, in which who knows what will happen there. But there is a lot of behind-the-scenes gamesmanship this time of year, and NC State was unfortunately a victim of this down in Tallahassee.
I don't like any of this.
Yeah.
This, because, again, as a football guy, we get 12 shots at that thing.
Right.
And if you cancel one, something big has to happen, something major, because we've seen it in the past, right? I believe it was a few years ago, the West Virginia game was canceled or something along those lines.
Hurricane,
we've seen it, but it was a hurricane. This isn't we forgot to. How do you forget to tarp the fit? Maybe it's just me. But in my opinion, if a home team does not do due diligence and proper care for their field, which is reasonable for them to do, that should be an automatic forfeiture. It should be an automatic, hey, you either find a way to do a doubleheader the next day or something like that, or you play it that night, or that's a forfeit. I don't get this. We're not talking about extreme adverse weather. And then I'm going to tell you this. This is why people call the NCAA no clue at all. Because if you let people have the reins to get away with this, if you give people that inch, they'll take a mile. Or in my community, as they like to say, if you give somebody the opportunity to shenan once, they will certainly shenan again. they will do it. And so if this gentleman is known for being up to this type of mischievous activity, and granted, this ain't just about him, if this is a widespread thing throughout the sport, what? I'm sorry. I don't care what's going on. Unless there is, again, a severe advert, I don't want to hear about no little 3 drops of rain. Oh, we can't play Norfolk. Get your ass on that field and play ball. Play ball. What are we doing here? I digress. I think this is a very bad look for Florida State. I'm sorry, Grayson. I know you're a college baseball guy, but this is a black eye on all of college baseball, because how are y'all allowing this and just oh, it's cool.
There is unfortunately a lot of gray area that gets repeatedly taken advantage of around this time of year. And the NCAA, like I said, they put out a press release basically saying, hey, we're watching you, but there's only so much good that something like that can do.
I think that there needs to be hard and fast rules about this type of stuff. I think that there needs to be rules surrounding hey, you cannot say you're canceling the game because it's too cold unless this bar is hit. Hey, you have to do certain things to maintain your stuff so that this doesn't happen. Hey, you can't do this type of thing where it's, everybody has a mysterious illness of some sort last minute or something like that. You can't do it. You can't do it because, again, and if everybody does come down with a mysterious illness, sorry, tough break. Because if you allow this type of gamesmanship where it doesn't negatively impact people, then at a point you're incentivizing it. It's a lot like how offensive linemen had that whole adjustment thing that they were doing where guys were literally getting into their kick step before the ball was snapped. And everybody kept saying, well, it's an adjustment. And, the refs won't call it. And even J.J. Watt said, well, if the refs aren't going to call it, it makes sense for them to do it. Same thing here. If Coach Jarrett is not penalized for this type of stuff, and coaches of his ilk who also do this are not penalized, and they gain an advantage by doing it, you are de facto incentivizing.
Yeah, I had tweeted out on Sunday morning because there was a picture released by a beat reporter for Florida State basically depicting that the infield was still wet and they were still working on it on Sunday morning. And I said, okay, this is either complete incompetence or shady activity. But now after seeing this picture and the field is still almost not ready by the time Sunday has rolled around, it feels like both. You were supposedly monitoring the weather all day on Saturday. You had the option to move it up to play the game earlier. You didn't do it. So then it got late enough where you had no choice but to can it for the day. You run into a curfew on Sunday, so you can't play a doubleheader. How convenient. And then the field is somehow still almost not playable by the time game time rolls around on Sunday. Just suspicious activity all the way around. And it's a bad look for Florida State. And like I mentioned, Link Jarrett, unfortunately, has kind of garnered a reputation for some shady, under-the-table potential cancellation type deals here. And this is just the latest example. NC State loses out on the opportunity to win the series down in Florida State, ended up just splitting 2 games, which still helps us. That's still a ranked win over a top 10 team. Yet another one of those to add into the bucket. But nonetheless, NC State's going to have to continue fighting this uphill battle if they want to try and host a regional. Yeah. Coming up next, we're getting into some 2025 football recruiting wish list type things on what the coaching staff needs to prioritize this upcoming cycle. After a quick word from our sponsors. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. And I know what you're saying. You guys keep talking about this game. Do I really need to download it? Yes, you should download it. There is so many good things to experience in Monopoly Go. You can team up with your friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. And the more you win together, the more awesome prizes you can unlock. There's so much to get, including unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums, cool new playing pieces to travel all of these exclusive boards with, and hilarious emojis for taunting friends after you smash their buildings and heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day. They have constantly changing tournaments and challenges, including their own unique mini games, which include digging for treasure and a robot pachinko machine. There's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and download it now for free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Last couple of minutes of our Monday show. Thought we'd spend a little bit of time talking about a potential wish list for this 2025 recruiting cycle. the commitment of Tristan Teasdell kind of got the hamster wheel spinning here. So, Kenton, in your opinions, what are the dire positions of need that the 2025 recruiting class needs to be filling?
I think there needs to be some portal offensive linemen, because while I think that we have some quality young guys on the roster now, I don't think that they'll be ready in 2025 necessarily. Or let me not say I don't think they'll be ready. I'm not 100% certain they'll be ready. And if I'm not 100% certain you'll be ready, it's nice to have alternatives in there that will push you to get the best out of you. And another position where we're going to be, a little short-handed is definitely the cornerback spot. Where, we're going to be looking at some deficits there as well, where it's like, but the cornerback spot is different because I think you can recruit high schoolers there. I think we have enough guys in terms of depth pieces that I'm fairly confident in. And I'm like, it's nice. It's nice to have, but it's not, it's nice to have, and you're going to need them at some point in time. So I wouldn't say it's as much of a luxury as I would say recruiting maybe a receiver would be in 2025, but I can see a succession plan there, but there needs to still be, again, offensive line, I think, is the biggest place. And that's probably my biggest area where I'm like, big boys lead. Big guys, they are going to be your tone setters. If we don't have established tone setters, or at least tone setters that are ready to go out and do it right away, you're going to be in for a world of trouble, regardless of how good CJ Bailey or Wilson is.
Yeah, my top three positions of need coming into this cycle are offensive line, defensive line, and corner. And a lot of what Kenton was just mentioning there, our offensive line after this season is more or less decimated. And that's no disrespect to anyone that'll be coming up through the ranks. But I think 4 out of 5 starters on our offensive line are either seniors or grads. You would be looking at potentially a lot of relatively inexperienced guys to have to step up in a big way in 2025. And also, like Kenton mentioned, that is more than likely where the portal would help you out big time. And ironically, offensive line and defensive line is what we currently need before we start the 2024 season. That search is sort of still ongoing, but offensive line is undoubtedly the biggest position of need when you're looking at the 2025 class. And then corner, obviously you're going to lose Aiden White. Corner is another position where you're going to have to continue to bring in more talent. And we do have a lot of talent. It's just young talent at the moment. But conversely, how good does it feel to be so incredibly deep at wide receiver now all of a sudden, and running back as well? You feel really good about those two positions in particular for the next, I don't know, at least probably 2 or 3 years.
Oh, absolutely. Those are positions that I feel great about. And I'm going to tell you something. Those positions in the safety position, you feel amazing about them. The linebacker position to me is the biggest wild card. But let's get back to the ones I feel great about for a minute. Tons of talent, tons of young talent. Think about this receiver room. Noah Rogers, 4 years left. Kevin Concepcion, 3 years left. So many freshmen in terms of Jackson from out in Weddington, one of the state's all-time leading receivers, true freshman. Not even mentioning yet Jonathan Paylor, 4 years left right now. Terrell Anderson, you can really keep going with the names and the hits. And you talk about Juice Vereen, Joe Lee, all those types of guys. All of them have multiple years of eligibility left. And that's not even talking about guys who are going to be on campus like a Gus Ritchie and company. You're looking at so many guys who have 3 to 4 years left in that pass catching group where it's like, not only are we, as the kids say, we got now and next, and that's very exciting. That's an exciting place to be at. But back to that linebacking core, we have a ton of young linebackers, and it feels like we have so many. Some are inevitably gonna pan out, but if we don't have enough pan out to where we have good depth there as well, I'd love to see us hop in the portal and go get some players who are ready to roll right away.
Because of how important the transfer portal has become, it is sort of hard to gauge exactly what they'll be going after. But yeah, wide receiver, you feel really good depending on how many guys you can keep here with all the talent you have all of a sudden after the cupboards felt a little bit bare last season. And running back, again, Jordan Waters will probably be the bell cow of this backfield this year.
Yeah.
You look at Kendrick Raphael, he's still got 3 years of eligibility. Hollywood Smothers, he's got 4 years of eligibility. And then you get into your other freshmen. You got Duke Scott. You got Isaiah Jones. Running back, you feel incredibly deep. That's such a relief honestly, because these last couple of years we've been looking around like, all right, somebody's going to have to step up and be special here, because otherwise I don't know what we're going to be able to pull out. But, moving into 2024 and then looking on to 2025, you feel so good about your skill players and the way they can develop and be electric, especially with Robert and I with the playbook in his hands. So big time summer coming up recruiting wise. You're going to need some hog mollies. You're going to need some offensive and defensive linemen to put their name in the ring to come to Raleigh.
But I'm going to tell you something. Of all the positions we talk about where you feel good, we didn't talk about the most important position in football where I feel outstanding. Quarterback, I feel like we're taken care of for the next few years. I think Bailey is better than even I had predicted. And you and I talked about Bailey a lot. And we have very publicly, and I'll do it one more time, Mario Cristobal. Thank you. We appreciate you, brother. You keep doing that good work down there in Miami. That's a good man, Savannah, just in a bad situation. But anywho, he is phenomenal. And everybody in their mouth is saying Wilson's terribly underrated.
It's me. I'm your mama.
It's the truth. It's the truth. Everybody says it. And so it is so interesting because we all know the idea that if you have two quarterbacks, you have none and all that. And it kind of, you don't want to speak this into the world because you'd love to have both of them and, have them compete and have them battling, and whoever loses that battle is willing to be a backup. But it kind of feels like this is setting up for that kind of dual scenario where it's like, man, we're going to see two top tier guys and you may only be able to keep one of them, but whichever one you keep is going to be a damn good one. You know what I mean? And so, again, I don't want to not speaking negativity in the world, just speaking the reality of it. I'd love to keep both of them. I'd love to have both of them on the roster and have a situation where, they can play behind each other and maybe CJ Bailey does such great things in terms of the volume that he's winning and how much he affects winning that he leaves after 2 years of playing, and then Will Wilson steps up and becomes the next guy and we got continuity at quarterback. I'd love to see it, but I'm just saying, man, I am feeling that position to me being settled is so exciting because you think about the wide receiver position and how much we begged and clamored for a receiver. I have always said that I want a guy homegrown NC State at quarterback, not just because it's like, oh, I have a problem with transfers or because they have a short amount of time. Neither one of those, well, one of those things isn't true. I don't have a problem with transfers. I don't care where you come from. You can ball. Transfer quarterbacks generally perform better in their second year, and we keep getting 1 year rentals. I want a guy that's from here, that's got the goods, that's going to be your guy for 3 to 4 years. And it feels like we have not one, but two like that are down the pipeline. So I'm excited to be good at that position as well.
Yeah, hand up. I was a bit skeptical of CJ Bailey not only making it to state because I was worried about Miami snatching him from us. I was also skeptical of what he would look like once he got here. But he shut me up pretty quick with the performance in the spring game because he looked awesome, slinging it all around the yard. And so his prospects have now all of a sudden kind of jumped off the charts, and you really do hope that he can be the quarterback in waiting. And then you get to Will Wilson. I think Will Wilson is like the chosen one. I'm over the moon excited for his possibilities here in Raleigh. And, touching on what Kenton said, you are kind of aligning for a potential quarterback battle here in the near future. But that's not something to shy away from. Iron sharpens iron, as they say. You want to bring in as much talent as you possibly can, and then the cream of the crop will rise to the top, and then all of a sudden you're winning 10-plus games a season. So you want to bring in as many dogs as you can possibly get because the top dog will then lead the way. And I think we do have two dogs that are behind Grayson McCall these next couple of years. So it's exciting times offensively. We're going to have to replenish the Tony Gibson cupboards. I'm sure we won't have much of an issue doing that. A lot of young guys. You think of a guy like a Ronnie Royal, a Brody Barnhart, a lot of really young but high motor guys. I can't wait to see what they do once they start developing in the system as well. But just a little bit of a 2025 wish list for you all to kind of keep on the brain as you start hearing more about official visits over the summer, because we do have a lot of them lined up here at NC State. But the summer of recruiting is very nearly here, and we have a lot to keep our eyes on here as the summer rolls on. That'll do it for us here on Monday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Tell us what you think about Tristan Teasdale's capabilities and what he will bring with him to Raleigh in the 2025 class. If you happen to notice the thievery down in Tallahassee over the weekend, if you're a Pac-9 baseball fan, give us your thoughts on the situation and how it potentially could have been remedied if not for some potential shenanigans. And tell us how you feel about a potential 2025 recruiting wish list for you. Tell us what you think the coaching staff should prioritize moving throughout the summer. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. We're starting to get real close to 2K in the subscriber count. So make sure to tell a friend to do the same. We will see you all tomorrow. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.